Hey, everybody. I'll be talking like I got a whole audience out there, and I'm going to keep doing that. International audience, local audience. Welcome back to another session, segments, all of the good stuff on the amazing 102.5 FM. And the one who's grinning over here, her name is
MyTesha Tates. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm glad that you're here. I think it's going to be some really good conversations today because we're talking about storms. You know anything about storms, MyTesha?
I know a lot about storms, weather storms, and non-weather storms.
Yes, and so today as we prepare to deep dive into our conversations, always with the intention of inspiring and lifting up our business owners and nonprofit leaders, we want to do real talk, give you some real examples. Now, if you are in Houston, Texas, or anywhere close to our proximity, or have heard of us recently, we recently went through a storm, like for real, right?
Absolutely.
Burl came up in here swinging, and what was some of the, I guess, aftermath, the impact that you know of that people maybe you encountered or other people encountered? What do you got?
I think that a lot of the aftermath applies to you, whether you are a business owner or simply a homeowner or even an individual.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that we can see that we're still dealing with is the cleanup.
Yeah.
So a storm comes, and even when it ends, there's so many things that you have to deal with afterwards. Many people here in Houston know that we had extended loss of power.
Yes.
There were people
How many
without
days
power.
for you?
Oh goodness, I was without power for 9 days.
Ooh,
Yes.
out of 7, so you win that one. So without power, but being without
Yes.
power had residual effects, because then
That
that
is true.
meant our food spoiled.
Yes. Food spoiled. There were so many things that were unable to be done. There was a loss of revenue from business opportunities,
Yes.
meetings, closings,
Yes.
transactions that were just simply unable to take place because of that
Absolutely.
loss.
It was hot.
It was
It
extremely
was uncomfortable.
hot. Yes.
And I was going to say, too, then just the things that we take for granted. Like when I went outside and I couldn't lift my garage door. And I was
Yes.
like, oh, yeah, because that's electric, right? So even as we just process that, and those of you who are listening today, you come into that space with us and begin to process storms. We're talking about a natural storm, Burl, but we're going to just say this. There's a close translation there, because whether it was Burl or, as you said, even in
Yes.
introducing yourself, personal storms, business storms, we see some of the same impact where you
Absolutely.
are without,
Yes.
where you have added expenses.
Added expenses, your personnel are impacted, your staff are impacted. More importantly, which I think many people take for granted, your mental is impacted.
Yep.
You are having to think about things that you didn't have to think about at all the day before.
Absolutely.
And you're having to come up with contingency plans and things that you have to shift and be able to pivot very, very quickly that impact you and others, and in many cases have a very lasting impact. There are people that are still dealing with the impacts
Absolutely.
of Beryl, and it has been weeks, but they still have not been able to return to normal.
Absolutely. And so as we prepare for this segment on today, I think that's where we're going to go. I know I got a list of questions. I'm going to try to ask a few of them, but not really. The audience already know that. But just this general idea that whether it's a natural storm, like for real out loud in our real worlds, or in the natural world, or if it storms in our personal lives, in our business worlds and the like, there's impact, there's residual impact, there's impact that touches other people. Sometimes it comes out of the blue, but I'll wrap up this piece and then have you introduce yourself more, just in case people want to track with you. There's this thing that I've been saying, though, that if we're here in Houston, then we already best believe another storm is coming.
It's on the horizon.
Right. And we would do ourselves a disservice to not be prepared, to not have processed and thought through some logical things, not just for natural storms, but even in our personal worlds and our business worlds, to not at some point realize, you know what, certain things are just a part of the journey. Let me be more proactive. Let me get that in place. So that's what we're going to talk about today as we educate and inspire, just ways to really process in the midst of the storm, how not only to survive the storm, but to also survive the recovery.
Absolutely.
Introduce yourself. Who are you, MyTesha? What makes you be a prime person to sit here today and talk about storms? What's your business? What's a storm, perhaps? Whatever you want to share with our good people today.
Okay, so as noted, my name is MyTesha Tates. I am an individual just as everyone else, but I'm also a business owner. I am the owner of the Master's Kingdom, LLC. We have a number of entities under our umbrella. We have, real estate and anything that ties into real estate. So that includes properties that we rent out, that we manage for other entities. We are also able to help people as they are looking to purchase or procure properties of their own. I'm also a licensed real estate agent. I work and do a lot of things with youth, teens, and also technology implementation, training, and education. So there are quite a number of things. We are very big on service. So everything that we do is giving back to the community, whether it be for a short-term impact, but most importantly for a long-term impact, which relies very heavily on the educational component.
Thank you, MyTesha. So again, for those of you who are interested in the things that she named, everything from real estate,
Yes.
securing properties, property management. You got a few properties, because we can't
Yes.
have you trying to act like you coaching the people you ain't got none. You got
I have
some
a few.
yourself. You
I have a few in
yourself.
my portfolio.
Right. You hear that, Miss Bella? We own properties, girl. It's our day, right? Bella's in the audience, but anywho, so she has the experience and the ownership there herself, but then also some technology expertise, and then in addition to that, you said just service with youth and young
Correct.
adults. So if someone wanted to also be able to reach out to you and contact you, what is the contact information that you are comfortable sharing today with our
Absolutely.
listening audience?
I am an open book, so I think that the best way that we can help each other is by sharing experiences. So I tend to be very open and transparent. So with that being said, my social media handle is my first name and middle. It's MyTesha Lynna, MyTesha and our business contact telephone number is 832-525-0518.
Thank you, MyTesha, for sharing that. So for those of you who are jotting it down, we'll make sure that we mention it a couple of times throughout the program. What we're going to do is take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back to kind of deep dive into MyTesha sharing. We already teeing her up. Perhaps a personal storm that she has faced in business, or sometimes, as we know, the storm you face in your personal life overflows into business, giving us a real example there so we can all step into that space. But from there, as you know, we will lift. So we will leave you with strategic tips and tools on how to navigate storms. We'll be right back on the amazing 102.5 FM. Y'all stay tuned.